Have you ever wondered how to raise money as a small business? How to manage potential shareholders in your small business? That's a big concept. Think about Xero, one of the world's fastest growing accounting platforms that manages your business accounts and your banking and your invoicing online. Think about a platform very similar to that manages raising capital for your business and actually managing shareholders while being fully compliant with the regulations. Welcome to the RegTech Xero. And with me on the line is David Pillinger in Perth, who runs the VCEX platform. Welcome, David.
Hello, Tim, and thank you for having me.
Wonderful, pleasure. Now, you've developed something that's very unique, and this is a very simple platform where businesses can create a marketplace to attract investors, and you don't need to go through issuing a prospectus. You don't need to do that. How do people raise money, or businesses raise money, on your platform?
Look, it's a pretty straightforward concept of what people are doing manually. We've just automated that, and by doing that, created the guidelines and connectivity and validation within the software. So it does as you've mentioned, the compliance, which ASIC is required as a requirement for all companies raising capital. So VEX is a registered ASIC agent, and as a virtual ASIC agent, it communicates all of the 484s and all of the compliance whilst it maintains the registry and handles the banking side.
So I just stop you there. When you say a 484, your system is integrated directly with the regulator, ASIC, to manage every Australian business's regulatory obligations. Is that correct?
Well, every Australian company, so it has to be a registered ACN, but any size company can use VEX as a registry service and create a share issue and update ASIC in real time with what we've created.
So when you're saying registry service, you mean a register of investors, don't you?
Correct, yes. So that's a register of members of the company. So each time a company raises funds, they can use VEX to create an offer, send that offer out to qualified people. The system will qualify those people through their nominated broker or AFSL, or they can go direct to their own contacts and create an investor login for those investors.
Really, I don't think that most Australian companies would actually understand this opportunity in terms of putting their business into your platform, the VCEX Exchange, and then creating a list of investors. I mean, this could work for someone who runs a fish and chip shop, or a chain of fish and chip shops, or a franchise. Or I don't think many people have thought of the opportunity of, hey, listen, I need to expand my business, and for that I need capital, and for that I need investors, and how do I manage these investors? VCEX actually solves that problem.
Yeah, it's definitely designed around doing that for all size business. So we call that pay as you grow. So the opportunity we've created is to make it more efficient for companies to do that, regardless of whether they're building a massive multi-billion-dollar hydrogen plant, which we do have. IBE, Infinite Blue Energy, who's just completed a raise with their brokers in Sydney for $9 million last week, and VEX is their registry. And we also have smaller mining companies and non-mining companies that are pre-IPO, and several of them have no interest in listing at all. They just want the support of investors and share the value of that company with those investors.
All right, well, let's step it up from every Australian business to those that are looking to seek capital and go onto the public market as a pre-IPO, which is an initial public offering on the stock exchange. So these companies very cost effectively can build a register and attract capital even before they spend those thousands and thousands of dollars on creating a prospectus and going to the main board of, say, the Australian Stock Exchange.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, It does that quite simply. It just manages the registry and maintains continuous disclosure to those investors that they've communicated the offer and transacted the offer through VEX. So there's nothing really missing in the process of what we do from the initial contact, the communication between the investor to create what's called the 708 form, which is for wholesale investors, if you like, or high net worth investors. And it manages those preparation of forms and the validation between the qualified investors, and then keeps track of all of those investors and creates a marketplace for those investors to look at other opportunities as well with their brokers who can be connected through that engagement, or they can do it individually.
So generally speaking, when you're doing this kind of thing in the market, you're creating this prospectus, this offer document. You're managing the regulatory forms for a sophisticated investor to participate. Then you're managing your registry of investors. The VCEX platform, as I understand it, automates that whole process. So you're not paying a solicitor or somebody to go and manage all that. VEX does it. Am I correct?
That's correct. And there is a fairly significant cost in some of the professions that are required to do some fairly mundane tasks. And ultimately, the biggest issue you have is not so much the cost per hour of these consultants for the processing of the sale of the shares. It's more about what mistakes might happen in the disconnect between one professional and another, because there's quite a few people involved in a capital raise, and often there's some errors or gaps. So this system, being a complete ecosystem, handles the whole transaction from end to end. So it takes away the onus from those consultants and leaves them to be able to create the content rather than the processing, because the processing part is the bit that's mundane. It's the content that you need the professional advice for. And we have some standardized forms for the companies that don't need a custom offer, but you can do both. So it's something of you can go for a complete package that the system will do for you, and then as you grow, you might change your company's requirements, needs, constitution, and get more complex in the types of shares and whatever, preference share or something like that. So as you do that, the consultants will be in there giving you advice, but the processing, which is the bit that everyone finds mundane, and it ends up going down the line from your highly paid consultant to an admin person that may have less of an understanding of how important that process is, and it might end up having problems which cause the cost and the stress as well. So we're kind of fixing.
So far we've talked about the regulatory side of it and the workflow, but there's something else that differentiates the VCEX Exchange significantly from anything else. Is you have a marketplace. Please explain how the marketplace works.
Sure. Well, there's been plenty of promoters out there that have been promoting new offers for listed and unlisted companies out there. So rather than us charging to promote, we do that for free on VEX. And what we say is, there's a marketplace, it's for qualified people. When you go there, you can look at the peripheral of a company's offer in the marketplace. But in order to get into what people refer to as dealing rooms, WOWS has the whole kind of content behind that privacy wall. And once you're approved by the system to say that you are a qualified investor, you can then actually go to the reading all the material in the company's dealing room, if you like, in the marketplace. And you can actually go and then purchase with the company's neo-banking function up to $200,000 per transaction, or $5 million per day at the moment.
So as a company, You can advertise that marketplace, and you could make people aware of it in your own network. They would then log in, and then they would register as an investor, which is phenomenal. So for the company, marketing this kind of thing to their contacts is just as simple as sending an email with a link to the marketplace.
Correct. I mean, you could be through ABN Newswire with a VEX code. So we give a 3-letter code, no different to the ASX giving a 3-letter code, and that link is embedded behind the VEX and the 3-letter code that we give each company. So that way, if you do click on it, you'll find that link will go directly to the marketplace where the login is required. And that's where you can either create a new profile as a new investor and go through the qualifying process, or as an existing investor, once you've gone into VEX from any company, you've already got your key. And you can just open that and you'll go straight to your investor dashboard where it'll keep track of everything that you've looked at and all your transactions in and out. So you can see everything that you ever have done with every share, with every certificate, and every
so you've got a full, what you're saying is a full audit trail on everything. So
a full audit trail on everything that we handle for you,
yeah, including all your submissions to ASIC, which is the Australian Securities and Investment Commission, which regulate business in Australia. All that's audited as well and carried out automatically in the background. But now, the banking side of it too. I mean, not only have you integrated a marketplace to market the company, you've created a automated channel through to the regulator to control your compliance and audit your compliance. But you're also set up with banking. And so funds received from an investor can go straight into your bank account to help your business.
Correct, yeah. So we have 2 ways of transferring funds. We can have a no minimum raise or a minimum raise, and the minimum raise is used in conjunction with an AFSL. So as companies become bigger and they're raising larger amounts, it's often they need the assistance of a broker. And that's where the brokers step in, and they might have a lead broker that gets, say, 6%, and then they might have other brokers that are contributing, who might get paid 2 or 3 or 4. So the system not only handles the money from a company that's newly incorporated and it's making its way through its first round, and then once they get through seed and they're starting to get some progress, and like this week we just had one that raised 9 million through a broker, and the system will handle the payments for all brokers and sub-brokers, so AFSLs and CARs, and it'll do the share issue and transaction into the company's account, minus the agreed commissions paid to the financial advisors, and we'll do that transaction and update ASIC in real time and validated within 60 seconds of cleared funds.
Amazing.
So everyone gets
amazing.
Paid.
So, really, there's so much functionality to this that you could write a book. The big question is, how does a company or a business wanting to raise money, wanting to have shareholders, wanting to expand their horizons, what's the first step? How do they do it?
Look, it's pretty straightforward. You can go to vcex.com.au, and any Australian company with an ACN can just type in their company name, and instantly we'll go through the ASIC database and locate that company. And as long as the person that's making application does their 100-point ID and validates and gets approved on our system, which we approve every single person's ID on the system, so we know that there's no unapproved people on the system.
So what you're saying is go to VCEX.com and immediately you'll see what? You'll see a marketplace, you'll see an application form. How does this work?
Well, it's pretty straightforward. You just go to the vex.com.au and you'll either go in and have a look at the marketplace, and you can act as an investor and see if there's any investments that you like. And
so you've got a range of projects there that on there now that people can just simply register and invest in.
Correct. Yeah, the marketplace is quite new, so I think we've only got about 9 companies that have got a profile there out of 120 7 odd companies that are on VEX using the registry.
Mm-hmm.
So some people do raising without the marketplace,
Mm-hmm.
and other people do raising with the marketplace. So
for businesses who want to register and attract capital, or for investors looking for opportunity, just simply go to vcex.com.au and start there.
Well, that's it. Yeah, just go to the log in and you can find your own way. It's not hard to figure it out once you're there. It's pretty straightforward. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic, David. Listen, thanks for joining us this morning. And as we mentioned, simply go along to vcex.com.au and have a look at this. The zero regtech, really. I mean, it's the online platform that you want to be looking at if you'd like to attract capital, you'd like to manage investors, but you don't want to spend a fortune. David Pillinger, CEO of VCEX, thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you very much, Tim. I really appreciate your support.